Cowboys trademark. Cowboys trademark. See, he comes and says something. He put that hybrid title on it's all water inside the Cowboys.
You heard that right.
That's a good look.
That's how we
Probably want to clear our view in the background instead of the light, up in the light. You can't take me and take me. What? You can't take me and take me.
Test 1 2 3 testing 1 2 3. Mic check. All right, I gotta go. I gotta sit on my thing.
First question back there, you got to get up there. The rule, down the front row, you can ask the question. You don't have that much insurance.
Why don't you coach your team?
We don't want to see you shirt on open chest.
We ain't want to hear your cackle all over the nation the last 3 or 4 days. No. He didn't know. He didn't know. Our account won't give me today. He won't get today. You play Aaron Rodgers, I'm not jumping.
Making sure I stayed out of trouble. I appreciate that. Well. We have a distinguished guest here, Mr.
I just talking about you.
told me that 3 times, and I couldn't retain it 4 feet.
Oh, man.
Get the chair to get up.
Hey, Bennett.
The picture's worth 1,000 words here. It's been said many times. I just got off the plane. I was in Chicago with our labor negotiations there this morning, last night, and yesterday. But I had the privilege of being with a couple of general managers while I was up there, and rode back here to Dallas with one of them. And he was quick to remind me that he said, you drafted him about 4 places ahead of where I was just had my hand, everything crossed, hoping that we'd get to him. He was talking about Jaylon here, wanting him on his team. It was the second one in one meeting, and there wasn't but about 3 general manager types that was in the meeting there talking about how they would have loved him. What they didn't know, first of all, they said, you had the inside, your doctor knew something the rest of us didn't. He did the surgery and that type of thing. But what they didn't know is what we all know today, and how proud we are, the Dallas Cowboys, to have Jaylon as a part of our long-term future. He represents that for us, he represents contracts that for all that reason, it's always a fluid thing relative to what we're doing with players. You've heard me say that a lot recently because we've been talking about several other players. But we have had the opportunity to have a player for the future that has never, ever complained. I've never heard in my personal visits with him when he first came in about, woe is me, I had a bad break. Because he certainly would have been in the very top of the draft when he came out. He has never complained. He has never wavered, never missed a workout, and he's never quit. Not one time. He is admired by his teammates. He is admired by his people he competes against. His story is one that I would have done anything to be sure that it could be a Dallas Cowboy story. So it's really a great privilege today, and I made them hold this thing off. I hope you guys will bear with us at this late time to do it. I made it so that I could get back in here from Chicago. It meant so much to me personally to be here. But the other thing I want to say here is it is neat that Jaylon understands that when you have a solid roster, you have as many high-quality young players as we have. You have to allocate your resources wisely to keep and have all of those players. You have to do that. That's called team building. And I will assure you that this was about team. It certainly was beneficial to Jason, but I can assure you this was about team. Our goals are to build the best team, and it takes cooperation from both parties when you're doing agreements. He is worth 1,000 words of anything we could say about contracts and the Dallas Cowboys. I do want to make sure, Jaylon, and I know you will, that your mom is here. She looks like one of these young. She looks like one of these young writers in this room, a little bit with that. But with no further ado, I'd like for Jaylon to speak to you, and then Stephen will answer any of your questions about the contract that we want to talk about. Jaylon.
For one, the number one place that I wanted to go my entire life, entering the NFL draft, was the Dallas Cowboys. You know, me being a a Buckus Award-winning, #1 linebacker, top 5 pick for sure. The odds of that happening, I knew would be slim. And then when the injury occurred, it provided a little more opportunity and a different perspective on my life, on my career. For me to have surgery 4 months prior to the draft, talking with my my late agent, Eugene Parker, who was actually a family member of mine. He died 3 weeks before I got drafted. It's just an extreme testament to him educating me just on perseverance and really what it takes to be a professional, a businessman. I learned so much, and to understand, going into the draft night back in 2016, not knowing if I would be drafted at all, not knowing if I would ever play the game of football again. A lot of people didn't know, but I knew. So, and the Cowboys knew. Jerry, you knew. Steven, you knew. And that's why you guys took a chance on me. You took a risk. A $4.5 million risk, had I never been able to play again. So me understanding that it was my duty for them to get the return on their investment. And they've been able to do that. And, now fortunate enough to really be a Cowboy for life is just what I wanted. So I'm thankful to be here for sure.
Jaylon, is this validation, vindication? Just talk about just what you've gone through and how it feels to. You've been on the field, but this signing this extension is kind of validation of what y'all did that night.
Absolutely. This is a long-term thing. For me, it's about being a Dallas Cowboy for life, understanding the brand equity that it holds, and aligning it with my brand, and being able to take advantage of each and every opportunity. Me being a businessman, living in Dallas, Texas, getting access to quality deal flow is something that I vouch for and I dream of. But it's just a wonderful thing. I didn't know I wanted it to come. Really 2 years prior. I really wanted it to come now, but I didn't know what the intentions were and if there were going to be an opportunity to get this deal done. Because really technically with the tender year, the Cowboys have my rights for 2 more years. So for us to get an extension like this is just a testament to how much we love one another and we believe in one another as well. So I'm a family guy. My mom's here. I love you. I do want to say that. I'm going. Becoming a professional, I always laid out a plan and an infrastructure on how to operate myself like a company. Jerry Jones hired me, and Steven hired me to be a linebacker because I'm an expert at that field. So in my personal life, I've operated that way. And in that being said, there's 10-year goals, there's 5-year goals, there's quarterly goals. Well, I had a 4-year goal to retire my mom, which would be next May. But that's going to come a little sooner now. So I'm excited about that. So just thankful to be here.
Hey, Jerry, can you talk about why you're
so emotional when talking about Jaylon and what he's been through?
Well, part of it is I didn't sleep last night in Chicago, but we were working. But at the Hall of Fame this year when we were there to recognize Gil Brandt, I was with a lot of the guys that have received gold jackets, and I found myself back waiting for us to go out and form the line for those guys that were coming in to walk down through. And I was sitting with Ray Lewis, and I said, just visiting with him, I said, Ray, I have somebody on our team that's got a lot of you, and I'm talking about the good stuff. He's got a lot of you. And I said, guys, I am talking about the good stuff, okay? And me and Ray didn't talk about my bad stuff either, okay? Okay, just so we're clear. Okay. But what I said was, you know about him. He said, I know about him. He said, on the field, you know about what he can be there. But what I will tell you is that the internal brightness, he glows. He said, you got that, Ray, and it lifts your team. Michael Irvin has it. He's got it. And I said, we've got a guy on our team that's got it. And I will look up sometime after a ball game, and he's sitting there with me. He's sitting there with me visiting with one of our sponsors, just say hello. And he's played his butt off. That's the difference. He gets it, and he gets the values, and consequently, I've always believed that when you get it and you understand the opportunity you've got, that'll even make you better than what the God-given physical skills are. He gets it. I said, to the extent that you keep an eye on him, just from that standpoint, keep an eye on him, and as you're thinking about the future, because he's going to be around a long time. And I was talking about this guy right here.
Jaylon, can you talk about the emotions that you had draft night when they picked you to what you have right now? Are they similar or are they different?
I guess both. You know, understanding what I've been through, and a lot has transpired since the injury. You know, I couldn't lift my foot for a year and 2 months, and you know that entire time, you know, these guys didn't have to pay me full salary my first year. You know, we were able to, you know, they were able to show their true belief in me. I was in every meeting, you know, every home game, you know, stayed after while they were practicing. You know, I was with Britt Brown, who's like my second father, you know, getting right and rehabbing the knee. And, you know, the thing about nerves regenerating, you know, the doctors say it's supposed to grow, you know, a millimeter a day. But really, it's on God's timing. It comes back when He wants it to. So all of us knowing that, I mean, it was just a matter of time. So I'm blessed to be here, be a part of the Dallas Cowboys organization. You know, for life, this is something it's just the beginning. You know, I received my new contract after only 22 starts. So I got a bunch of starts left. Let's do it.
Stephen, we haven't talked about the contract. Can you give us some of the details, years, numbers?
Well, it was important to us, as you know, as you can tell, what Jerry thinks, what we think of Jaylon, that, you know, we have him around here. And that was some point of contention along the way because, you know, when these guys give up term on their contracts, they're giving up a lot. But as you can see with Jaylon, it's important for him to be here too. But it's a 5-year extension on his deal. And it's for 64, as Jerry would say, $1 million in terms of what he's scheduled to make, and then 35.5 of that's guaranteed.
Stephen, could you take us behind the scenes, some of the personnel meetings, and you know that Jay mentioned the financial investment, but just the risk reward and what were the final variables in that to make a second round.
Well, I remember it vividly, and Jaylon's correct. I mean, we had top 5 grades on him. Even if we were very much aware that he had a long road to hoe in terms of the nerve damage he had in his knee. which complicated the situation. But, had he had a typical ACL injury, I still think Jaylon would have been picked. And our grade showed that in the top 5 had he not had that nerve damage in his knee. And so we knew, as you say, God willing, that thing was going to come back, that we were going to get we were really going to get a great football player. And as Jerry will tell you, this thing is not black and white when you're picking football players. What's on the inside of them, are they going to play well in the pros versus how they played? I mean, there's so many moving parts, and that's just one of them. And certainly Jerry's shown time and time again that, we're willing to take that risk. And everybody got their hands around it. I don't think anybody had any reservation. We pretty much were totally, knew that he was not going to play for us that year, that it was going to be a redshirt year, that he was going to, focus totally on getting healthy. And then we were going to had a shot for him to start working back in and being a part of our football team in that second year, which pretty much played out according to plan. Hats off to the doctors, hats off to, as you said, Brett and Jim and our crew, and they did a great job of getting Jaylon in the right place. But first and foremost, Jaylon's hard work. As Jerry said, he never had a day that you didn't walk out there and he wasn't smiling, and he wasn't very optimistic and focused on the task at hand. So, it turned out, obviously, it'll go down as one of the great picks that this organization's ever made, and most of it, in fact, due to what Jerry was talking about. Ray had told Jerry about is that good stuff, that he's so focused and so determined to be the very best he can be.
How do you view that injury now? Is it something that you embrace, or is it something that you want your story to be something beyond what that injury was at the time?
Just understanding perspective. I mean, before I even played in that bowl game, I recognized the risk of injury, understanding that was a threat. But for me, being the person I am and the leader that I am, I was a captain at the University of Notre Dame, and I wanted to go out the right way. Playing in the Fiesta Bowl versus a caliber opponent, Ohio State. Who my brother played for, I always wanted to go against them and things of that nature. So the biggest thing is, because of my injury, I mean, athletes now have, the right to make a decision on whether they want to play or not. And for me, the best business decision and mental, emotional decision for me and my family was for me to play in that game. And if I could go back, I would do it all over. But, I mean, it's really just a true testament of my clear-eyed view, which I've always talked about, having a focused vision, determined belief, earned dreams. I mean, it really fuels my fire. My injury was televised publicly, throughout the entire country. Everyone knew about it, playing at a high-caliber university like Notre Dame, where things are visible. So, was able to, God was able to work through me. And for people to really be able to see that, you can persevere.
Was that part of your decision to take this deal now related to what happened in your last game, that you wanted that financial security?
Understanding business and that cash is king. And also I wanted to be a Cowboy for life. One of you guys interviewed me last week, and I was talking about that, wanting to be a part of, the most prestigious brand in the world. I recognize that, and I'm a team guy as well. I'm a leader. Eventually I'm going to be a captain, for the Dallas Cowboys. I know it and I feel it, and really be able to exemplify greatness on and off the field. In order to win, you need guys, and I view myself as one of those guys. So it's a great deal.
Let me make this comment.
In order to have a journey, a trip, whatever cliche you want to use, or success, very seldom is it just bam in a straight line. It more often than not is a plan. and the happen chance on the way there can happen. But there is a plan. And Michael, for instance, told me that he would get young rookies and go home with them and speak at their Rotary Club so that he would endear himself to them. And when he got in the huddle with them, he would say, now you go across the middle, Harper. Okay, I was there for you. Well, that wasn't thought of in the huddle. That's thought about a year, or that's in advance. That's a plan in advance. When you see somebody that took the circumstances that Jaylon took, had his aspiration, has his plan, when you see him operate how he has rehabbed himself, he's not thinking about just the next step or the next step. He's got 3 or 4 in mind. They may come that way or not, but he's got them in mind. He's out looking ahead. He's got a bigger picture in mind there. That's what I was trying to say to Ray. You run into these guys every now and then, and women. You run into them. He's got that. You can call it ambition. You can call it, but it's a plan. It's a real plan. And that's what has been so impressive. And it literally is no accident that we're sitting here today. Now, man, this is a contract story right here. This is a contract story. Y'all been badgering my ass to get a contract story out there with you for the last 3 weeks. This is a contract story, and this is a contract story that is not just this year or not just next year. This has it all. It has overcoming. It has talent. It has rewarding an ambition. Or it has just the beginning of what ambition will get you in the future. And that's the biggest, most exciting thing about this. Mom, is where do we go from here with this boy of yours? And it's really a special thing to look forward to seeing.
You talked about some of the gambles you made in both business and in people. Where does Jaylon rate?
Well, I would say that the idea of, first of all, if you're going to climb in a foxhole, it's better to be in there with somebody that's been shot at and hit than somebody that hadn't been shot at, or if he has, missed. It's better to have a guy that has shown that he can handle adversity. And then it's always nice to be in there with somebody that's got a plan to get out of the damn foxhole, too, on the way there, too. That's always somebody you'd like to be in there with, too. And you call it instincts, you call it intuition, you call it all of that. But anybody that says that he just got a gift from above and he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and God just gave him some talent, they've missed this picture, because he's already shown them that he can take a kicking and really make the most out of it and make it happen. He inasmuch said so. He knew if he went where he's supposed to in the draft without the injury, he wasn't going to get to be in a Cowboy. So when he got hurt, he said, at least I'll get to be a Cowboy from that standpoint. Now, that's thinking positively and making an adversity into a positive. I'm going to say it again now. This is a contract story right here.
How much are you hoping that kind of what Jerry said earlier about players recognizing the value of having great teams and maybe taking that into consideration in other negotiations? How much are you hoping that sets an example with Zeke and Dak and Mari and other guys involved?
It's really all about understanding. It's about you don't know what you don't know, and for myself and my situation, I understood. Really what it took. And these guys, Dak and Zeke, Amari, they are great guys. I don't know who their agents are, but, I wish them nothing but the best. They're my brothers. I love them, and I want to be teammates with them. So, for sure.
When your agent reached out to you and said, we're talking about an extension, what was your initial reaction? Were you surprised? Were you like, oh, okay?
I was like, finally. Yeah. For me, I just wanted to stay in my sweet spot and embrace each season that I was in. That's how I was able to get to where I am today. I just embraced each moment, really focused on the present and allowing myself to understand my ego, but to not be able to, but to not to identify with it. You know, I can be aware of, you know, we all have egos for better and for worse. But, you know, when you don't identify with them, you're really able to be present. So that's really just what I focused on. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we got the deal done in a week and a half, maybe less than that. Less than that. I mean, we both know what we wanted to do, so it's a blessing.
Stephen, from the team's aspect of it, you and Jerry both hinted in California that there could be a fourth deal in the works. Like, around what time did that kind of come into view?
Yeah, let me start by saying this. It's a little bit like player acquisitions. I mean, you live with, I mean, it's part of our business now with salary caps and, you know, when situations, you know, come in front of you that it's a, you know, it's the right time to do something. And, you know, my hat's off to Jaylon. You know, someone mentioned, hey, when did your agent? I bet you that's really not the way it happened. I think Jaylon, which, by the way, these representatives do work for the players. At the end of the day, they hire them and they work for them. But pretty sure Jaylon, you know, took the initiative with his agent, who I have a ton of respect for, Doug Hendrickson. And he also wanted to make something happen that Jaylon wanted to make happen. But I'm going to bet a lot that Jaylon is the one who initiated this. And you know, that's why we were able to get it done. I've told you guys in here time and time again, you know, when these things are ready to go, they go. And until that point, you're kind of sitting around trying to get your hands around it. And I have nothing but respect for, you know, these things, because it is. These are life-changing contracts. They're generational type contracts. This will change Jaylon's family's life for generations in terms of the money we're talking about. And the same thing holds true for Dak and Zeke and Amari, and everybody gets their hands around their personal business, you know, in their own ways. And still very optimistic, having some positive thoughts and talks with these guys that we'll get those done as well. But my hat's also off to Jaylon that and Doug. They took the initiative to step up when everybody thought we were totally focused on, you know, on three guys, and come in here and say, let's get something done. And you know, we're always, our door's always open for business, and so I think that's vital, you know, as we move forward. And you know, this is, at the end of the day, I've said it time and time again, this allocation or a distribution dilemma, whatever you want to call it, because Jerry said it, we got so many really good young football players that we want to keep together. It's been 30 years, you know, not quite 30, but a long time since we've put a championship in this organization. And I know Jaylon wants it. I know these young guys want it. We all know what it's going to do for them if we're able to get that done. And the best way to get that done is keep as many of these young players, you know, that we've been fortunate enough to get in the draft, to keep them here for the next contract.
You guys drafted well. I mean,
so that's so important as we move forward.
It has no impact on your talks with Dak, Zeke, and Amari. There's still enough pie left to get all of them done.
Absolutely. Yes.
You said you were confident in getting those done?
Very confident.
Before the start of the season?
I'll go as far as to say the reason there is pie left is because we have kept there some left. That's why there's pie left. And that's why we're going to be where we are, because we want to have some pie left for others. And so, having said that, it fits like that, and we don't need to elaborate. Stephen said it so well, but I have seen it. There's a lot, in addition to being an NFL football player and all of the benefits that go financially, and like you say, in some cases can change your life, and everybody that loves you are going to love your life forever in that way. But in addition to that, with the Dallas Cowboys, if we do this thing right, there can be things that are rewarding to families and careers that aren't necessarily manifested in a collective bargain agreement, a player contract. And you got to be able to look around some corners and kind of see that and think that that might happen. And so if we didn't have examples to show that, that we've got guys that have made hellacious careers after they've quit playing football. And a lot of times it's because of a lot of the things they got and the visibility they got with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the difference in many cases is sometimes one comes along that lifts the whole damn Dallas Cowboys for everybody. They see it. And we've had them come through. Michael Irvin was one of those kinds of guys and just lift the whole boat through seeing the picture. And so that's kind of what I think we're talking about here. And we've got 3 or 4 or 5 players on this team that have a chance to have a nation excited about them as individuals just from that exposure, not to take away anything from what they accomplish as individuals.
To jump off Clarence's question, now that Jaylon's got a slice of the pie, does it affect how big of a pie Amari, Dak, and Zeke can get?
There is less pie left, make no bones about it.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
There is less pie.
About not wanting to set the market.
Good. I was wondering when you were going to stand up.
Stephen, you've talked in the past about not wanting to set the market with these contracts. What Jaylon's done in taking this deal and what he said in his press conference, does that help you in your negotiations in not setting the market?
No, I wouldn't say that. What it does is it shows that you can have Jaylon sitting up here smiling big with his mother and happy about his business, and it works for the team as well. And I still think we can do that with all the players that we have remaining out there. And it's not just those 3, as I told you at camp. There's not just those 3 that want to be Cowboys and want their contract. And it's not just it's more than just Jaylon. It's more than just Dak and Zeke and Amari. We have, as Jaylon knows, a lot of good young football players back there that want to take care of their business as well.
Mom, how's it feel to have your son announces your retirement?
Look at my mama.
I didn't have any tissue. I wasn't prepared for that. Man, it feels good.
Thank you. Thank you. Always stand up.